Hi there, Victor Bra speaking to you, anarchist artist. Okay, on the subject of voting. Oh, voting. Okay, it really seems that some people have a very difficult time, very intellectually, that is, mentally, intellectually, find it difficult to navigate themselves out of the mental maze, and they cling to the delusion or the hope that the system of electoral politics is going to make a change, is going to that it's something that's designed for the average citizen. You know that that the system is for the people, and they truly believe that that's how democracy was constructed. That it was designed for the people, so that the people have a platform, a means to be heard, that they are participants in how society is operated and runs. So that people don't suffer, from the feeling that that they're being oppressed, right? I mean, you can produce so much more in human management. The ruling elite is able to produce that much more and to maximize their acquisition of resources for the people that they enslave. It's a matter of mental enslavement and not so much as a lash on the back. And you see, that's what I think democracy is all about. It's the mental fog. It's not the lash on the back. It's the lash on the mind. So that's really what I regard, democracy as pretty much as evil's magic show. We could put it that way. And I think that so long as that people do hold the premise that the state is for them, they're just going to be locked in a hamster wheel repetition of history repeating itself over and over again. And what this does really is just bolsters the power and the power of the state. It bolsters them, because voting really is how the ruling elite understands and knows that the public is still for them. They count the numbers of voting, and when the process of voting takes a statistical nosedive, that's how the ruling elite are able to lick their finger and point it to see where the winds are turning, to get an engagement of the people. And they look at the demographics, and voting, basically, it is a sanction for evil. It shows that the ruling elite do have the moral and intellectual sanction of the people, and that's precisely the source of the power that the state has. I've said this in other videos, that the state has a certain amount of just raw physical power at their disposal. I mean, they have the guns, they have the tasers, they have the nightclub sticks, and when it comes to the police, and the industrial military complex has much more massive weaponry, and that type of power is very real. It's physical, but but the actual power of the state, though, is the intellectual and moral support that we give it. And it's really, if you're going to invest this much energy into this institution, or into any institution, you should really, I don't know, I think it's really important to understand what the state is, and I think that the abundance of material, and there's a great deal of intellectuals these days, philosophers and intellectuals, anarchist thinkers, who've bent themselves out of shape trying to explain to people who are curious about curious students of ideas, to help them to understand what the state is. They've done the intellectual legwork. It's, as I've said in other videos, society is it's a division of labor. You don't have to be all things and dual, but it's and there's a division of labor, but it's not just physical labor, it's intellectual labor as well. And there's people who have done the intellectual legwork, doing the scholarly work, the investigating, the thinking, and the reading, and that's what they do. And they cater to your life in such a way as what a division of labor society will do. You don't have to kill your own food and weave your own clothes, and you don't have to build your own home for the most part. You don't have to do all these things, and but neither do you have to take anything that anarchist thinkers take on faith. I mean, there's a certain amount of responsibility in the cognitive process that you have to undertake to understand what's being said and filter the information through your own reasoning. But I think there's a great deal of evidence to show by definition and history, philosophical definition, and ethically, and historically, factually, scientifically, anthropologically, that we have this information at our disposal to understand what the state is. And all you're doing is just sanctioning evil. That is all you're doing when you vote. And as one of my Facebook friends wrote on the wall, it was a very cute way of putting it. You know, I try to think of the state as an abusive spouse. Okay, and when you vote, you're simply renewing your vows. You know, so that was a very interesting way of putting it. And so basically, you know, but understanding what the state is. I mean, you can understand what it is by what it does. Okay, I mean, that's kind of a tip-off. That's kind of a tip-off, right? You know, it's just like how we understand what people are all about. You know, it's not so much as to what they say. I mean, it's what they do. You know, it's what they do. That's how we determine the moral fiber of an individual. And that's pretty much how we have a good tap on their character. I mean, some people do. The people are good who make mistakes. Of course, that's understandable. But we're talking about a continuum here. And some people who are continuously assholes are, you know, probably not. It's not just a moral lapse. Like I say, we all do stupid things. Good people make bad choices. And but we're talking about a continuum here, a mode of behavior that is expected and constant and ongoing. And we can see this with the state, that it progressively gets worse. We can understand what the state is by what the state does. And what it does is, of course, is that it initiates the use of physical force against peaceful citizens and plunders their wealth. And out and out kills them, too, as well. It's democide. So that's pretty much what the state is, and that's what you're bolstering up. That's what you're catering to. That's what you're giving your esteem to, your belief to, your intellectual, moral belief to. And another thing too is like this whole idea of voting to get the right person in. I mean, for God's sakes, you know, if you're looking for some libertarian thinker or Ron Paul to get at the helm, you have to understand that the ship of state, my friends, it's going down. Okay, it's going down. Not only would that be disastrous and set the freedom movement back 100 years once, because the inevitable collapse, if it happens, if it does happen while there is a libertarian president in office, it's not going to bode too well for the freedom movement. It will always, that association in people's minds would always be there, and that would be a benchmark in history. So, and anyway, that being bad enough, though, but the inevitability of an economic collapse is there. So there's no such thing as getting the right person in office anyway to turn the ship around when it's already sunk. Okay, so the ship hit the iceberg, folks. I mean, you might have heard that somewhere in alternative media, maybe not mainstream media, but the information is there, so you might want to check into that. And the bottom line, folks, is that electoral politics, voting, democracy, it's the smoke and mirrors. It is evil's magic show, and when you try to bolster this system and give it any kind of credence whatsoever, if you don't just simply live your life navigating around its impositions and predations and just try to live the best life that you can, to live freely, to live intellectually free, and to achieve your own happiness. That is an enormous task to undertake to begin with. That's an enormous responsibility, and it's a worthwhile responsibility. And that's what really should consume your energy. You can engage in discussions with people and spread ideas. That's a wonderful thing. But you don't have to do it for some cause. And you have to understand what the state is. Your non-participation in voting frees your time up. It frees your energy, your time, your mental space to pursue things that are actually worthwhile and are going to make a difference in your life and in the life of other people. The fact that we have this wonderful mode of communication right now is spreading ideas where people are turning around and they are not catering to the system. That's what you can do. That's what I'm doing when I make these videos. I'm spreading ideas. And it's a very marginal effort. I understand that. I wish I had a larger platform, but I'm doing the best that I can. And in the meantime, I'm also trying to fight for my piece of the pie, my slice of happiness, and whatever economic well-being I'm capable of. Not that that encompasses everything in life, but it is a matter of freedom, and freedom begins with the intellectual approach to things. It begins with the individual, and there's a great deal to be said with mental emancipation. The system is a delusion, okay? The actual source of power that the state has, beyond its obvious weaponry and various thugs in blue uniforms, green and blue, and camouflage uniforms, that's very real. That's something to contend with. I grant it. But the actual power of the state, though, its actual power is your belief in it. Okay, your participation, your emotional and intellectual belief in it, because the state is a fantasy, just like God. God has no existence or life or objectivity other than what is entertained in the mind of the theist. And the state is the same thing. Just a phantom word, just like God. Government, God, government, God. It's a fantasy. And your failure to believe in it renders it into a complete void of nothingness from which it sprang and from where it is. A figment, a fragment, a spick, an idea, a construct entertained in the mind of the individual. That is the state. Other than the real weaponry that people have, the small cadre of individuals, but they're just people. They're just people. There is no state. There is no government. So trying to vote and cater to that illusion, you're not achieving anything. Okay, you're not achieving anything. That's all I'll say for this right now. Victor Pross signing out. Anarchist artist. Pop Culture Culture.